Hi guys, my name's Liam and I'm part of the GB coaching team. Today I'd like to talk to you about fingerboard training and ways we can adapt that to training at home. Now it's worth noting we don't necessarily need access to a big custom facility like this one. All you need is a fingerboard or an edge to be able to train effectively. Now if you don't actually have access to either of those things, I will run through some ways we could train without the use of a fingerboard. Now it's very important when we start thinking about training at home, we still bear in mind that we need to be properly warmed up and ready to perform the exercises and demanding tasks that we're about to go through. Now, we don't all have, treadmills, rowing machines, but you can still warm up effectively at home without necessarily climbing. The first thing you want to do, raise that heart rate. That could be a quick jog on the spot, it could be a bit of skipping, something great, basic plyometric. Secondly, you want to think about activating those muscles and getting that mobility going, and then thirdly, you want to be going through your climb specific warm. So maybe that's on the fingerboard, just doing some basic finger activation. In regards to my fingerboard specific warm up, there are a couple of things I like to do personally, and I highly recommend that you do when you start fingerboarding. The first one is you want to think about activating and stabilising that scapula. So that's just doing some basic scap shrugs on a fingerboard or on a pull bar. If you don't have those, you can do them on the ground, and I'll quickly run you through a demonstration of how to do those now. So, easiest way, on a fingerboard, you want to get a nice duty hold, hang in a dead position, and then think about tracking that scapula down and back, making space with your elbows and knees. Now if you don't have access to a fingerboard at home or a pull-up bar, you can do a similar exercise and a similar movement on the ground. Best position, you can get into a plank, and all you want to do is go down and press up just with your scapula. So you'll sink down, So the first thing I'd like to talk about is hand position when hanging. Now, we know when climbing, we face very different hang positions, and we have to pinch, we have to crimp, we have to hold slopers. Now, the majority of people, when fingerboarding, tend to use a half crimp. And a half crimp is essentially a 90-degree angle in the first joint. Now, the reason the half crimp is so effective is it's actually an active hang gaze. You engage in your forearm flexors to maintain that position. Now, you can also train in a drag. Now, a drag is an extended position which is a bit more reliant on skin contact. It's a bit more passive. You could also train in a full crimp, but this is a little bit more specialist. So what I'd like to do now is run through a few different training protocols we can actually use when fingerboarding. Now initially, what I like to do is go through a set of density hangs. Now these are basically hangs designed to increase the thickness and density of our tendons. This will allow us to train more effectively and for longer in the future by allowing our body to adapt to the training mode. Now density hangs are pretty simple. Essentially what you need is a one pad edge. You're going to train this in a half crimped position, so that's 90 degrees in the first joint. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the position, two-handed, load it, and hang for 30 seconds. Now once we complete the hang, we want roughly 2 to 3 minutes rest. If you repeat this 6 times around, that will get you the desired effect. You could then start to incorporate some more standard training protocols. That could be something like repeaters. Now repeaters are a great climbing training exercise because they not only focus on the finger strength aspect, but they also look at the strength and endurance of your forearms. Now repeaters, in the simplest, are 7-second hangs followed by a short 3-second rest, repeated 6 times. Once you've done that 6 sets, that's your minute of work. You then get 2 to 3 minutes rest. If you repeat that for 5 sets, that's you done. Now again, we'll be looking to train this in a half grip position on an edge you can comfortably hang. Hang, the scapula engaged. Take your hand, shake it off, and repeat. So one training protocol I'd like to talk about is max hangs. Now max hangs are essentially maximal effort hangs with long rests in between sets. You can scale this by either adding load or removing load. Again, we'll be doing this in a half grip position, so you're going to find the edge you find comfortable. You're going to engage that position and you're going to hold it for 5 to 10 seconds. Now as mentioned, a way of scaling this is to add load. The easiest way is to either have a weight belt or a harness and add a percentage of body weight to your hang. Now this can be done in increments, and as you progress you can add more load to your sets. It is worth noting that form is more important than performance. So don't get caught trying to do a load that's too difficult to start with, when really you should just be looking for the form. Again, set that half grip position, hang, engage your scapula. So what I'd like to quickly touch on is ways we can adapt our finger training protocols when we don't have access to an actual fingerboard. Now currently there are lots of portable edges available, and you can use these in a very similar manner to the way you'd use a fingerboard. Essentially all you need to do is add load. Now this can be done in numerous ways. You could add weight plates onto it, you could clip a heavy water bottle or a bag. You can even use a ferroband as resistance and pull against it. You could set this up to train repeaters, to train max hangs, to do density hangs if you wanted to. Really, really simply. Essentially, all you need is clip it into a sling, set that hand position just like I did before, shoulder back and scapula, and maintain position. Now the beauty of these training aids is you can actually vary it up massively. You could get a pinch box to train the pinch positions. It's going to really use those extensors a little bit more. And you could actually look at doing some isolation training. Now isolation training might be a little bit advanced for some of you, but it is a great way of getting results when training, and you can really control the load without actually hanging on a fingerboard. The best way to do this is to focus on time under tension rather than frequency. So you want to be holding this for a prolonged time, maybe 30 seconds to a minute if possible. And again, it's form over performance, so you want to really maintain a nice strict position. Again, set that shoulder, try and keep a nice level shoulder girdle. Now a lot of us won't actually have access to any of those training aids either. One way of maintaining finger strength without the use of a fingerboard is you could do finger curls. Now finger curls are a pretty simple exercise. All you really need is a dumbbell or something heavy, and you're going to go down into extension and curl it back up. Down into extension, curl it back up. Now it's great for the forearm flexors. Now one way of training the forearm extensors without necessarily climbing is you could set up something similar to this. And essentially, all it is a way of doing wrist curls. And you're going to start with a weight attached to the stick by any sort of cord really, and you're going to look for a nice controlled reel in, and focus on keeping those shoulders nice and level throughout. Once you get to the top, control it all the way down.